Hello students, today we are going to discuss auxiliary verbs, and you must have idea about verbs. Verbs are the uh, action words are called main verbs, and helping verbs, there are actually two types of verbs. One is action words, name of action words are called main verbs, and there are the main verbs are uncountable because we do lot of works, lot of actions in our life. But when main verbs have three forms actually: present, past and past participle. And sometime, and verbs are used for mainly used for showing time, right? And then when main the forms are certain, when uh, forms are sometime are uh, in different sorry, main forms of main verbs are fixed, then we have to take help of helping verb. That is why helping verbs are there, and there are a number of certain helping verbs are there countable. And helping verbs are also called auxiliaries. So let us see what is auxiliaries. Very important topic is this. Auxiliary verbs, also known as helper verbs or helping verbs, uh, are minor verbs. That called minor verbs are also that support the sentence main verb. As I told you, that these minor verbs support main verbs to communicate complex grammar concepts like aspects of time or modality. Very important is time or modality, right? So this is there. Now for example, in this sentence, I have finished the report. So here I have finished the report. The auxiliary verb have supports the main verb finish, right? So this have support the main verb finish. Here have and finished. Okay, now auxiliary verbs can be confusing, so we explain everything here. That's a what is auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verbs are a type of verb that takes supportive role in sentence, right? So these verbs take supportive role second to the main verb. They are used mainly to create complex grammatical tense. So auxiliary verbs are used mainly to create complex grammatical tenses like the perfect and continuous tense, right? Which show different aspects of time, right? And then auxiliary verbs and main verbs are used for time, right? How long an action takes place, that's a time, how long, right? So first is simple present tense. No auxiliary verb in simple present tense, because the go is enough. Go tells about present tense, and um, number. I is follows the plural, so that's a I go to the zoo. Then present continuous, but then when go becomes going continuous tense, so then I am going, or I was going, or I will be going, not clear. And that is why we have to take help of helping verb. And here I am going means that am represent that's just right now. That's a I am going this way, right? Then future perfect continuous tense. So that's a, suppose this is timeline, right? And this is past, this is present, right? Present, and this is future, for example. So here future continuous, so that's a any activity which will be continue in future and will be continued actually. So here in September, so that's a right now, suppose this July. So in September somewhere here I will have been going to the zoo for a year, right? So that's a future planning here somewhere. So that is continuous this way. So for this, how many helping verbs we have to take help of? Will and have and been. So there are three helping verbs by which we can be able to tell about future continuous tense, right? So this is, we cover a complete list of which tenses. Okay, now aside from a tense and aspect of time, uh, auxiliary verbs are also necessary for showing voice, right? So this is time. Auxiliary verbs are used for time and then voice, active versus passive voice, and are useful for adding special emphasis such as uh, question tag. So here let me revise that helping verbs are used, wait a minute, helping verbs are used for sorry, helping verbs are used for these are the helping verbs used for time, right? That's a time, and then voice. Okay, then that's a time, then voice, right? And then that is question tag, and then question tag. So helping verbs are mainly used for three purposes. You like the book, don't you? This is question tag, right? I don't like this book, right? So these are the example. The three main auxiliary verbs are very important. Auxiliary verbs are, what are they? Be, do, and have. Be, do, and have. However, all three of these can also be used separately as action verbs, right? When you see one of these verbs, look for a second verb to determine if it's being used as an action verb or auxiliary verb. uh, I did my homework already. This is action verb, right? I did. Auxiliary verb, I did not want to go home. Here no main verb is used, that's why do is used as an action, because that's a did is the past form of do. Show is showing the action, but in this case I did not want. Here help main verb is already given, that's why did becomes helping verb, right? Similarly, I have a selfie with Neil deGrasse Tyson. So that's a I have a selfie, that is action verb, sorry, and auxiliary verb. I have waited, because here main verb is already given, so have become helping verb. Waited a long time for this. Okay. Now beside the three main auxiliary verbs, there is also a special type of auxiliary verb that affects grammatical mood. Very important. What? There special type of auxiliary verb, right, that affects the grammatical mood. These are called modal auxiliary verbs, right? They behave a little differently than the other auxiliary verb. Model auxiliary verbs, or simply modal verbs, change the grammatical mood of a sentence. Very important. Grammatical mood of a sentence. That means you can use modal verbs to express different meanings of main verbs. So modal verbs are used to the main verb, so you can use to express different meanings of main verbs, right? Such as showing possibility, right? So that is possibility. It might rain. There's a main verb, rain, and might, right? Ability, this is possibility. Ability, can run, right? Rain, so that's a ability, right? Necessity, it must rain, that's a necessity. Okay. Suggestion, it should rain, right? So that's a different word, different moods. Moreover, the modal verbs will is necessary to express future tense, right? So will and shall is used for future tense. Okay. When using modal verbs, the main verb often takes either the participle form, right? What is participle? Let me tell you. It's a very important part. Many a time students ask, what is participle? Okay. So participle is that's a form of verb used as either an adjective, right? The hidden treasure, hidden is adjective, or a part of certain tense, that is we are hiding the treasure. So participles have two different types, the present participle and past participle. Present participle used as adjective can form a longer participle phrase, hidden in the bushes, the treasure was, had to see, and participles are common in English, but that does not mean they are easy to understand, right? So don't indulge much, that's a participle. Okay, now next is that's a participle is that's a past or present depending on the usage. Okay, or infinitive form, which is to go, to write, to laugh, that is called infinitive. So what is infinitive here? Infinitives are a special form of verb that can be used as a noun, adjective, or adverb. They are usually made by adding to, I told you, to before the base verb, and they can be useful when discussing actions. To err is human, right? Actually doing the action, I want to go, right? So that's the I want to go. Okay, to err, karna, right? Jana, this way. Okay, so this is called infinitive. Now form, so infinitive and participle, right? Form without to, known as bare infinitive. So in the examples below, notice how the main verb loses its conjugation s. How? See, Georgian, cat's background. Georgian can scat backgrounds. One of the main differences between modal auxiliary verb and other auxiliary verbs is that modal verbs do not get conjugated by person. Important, not by person, not by person. For example, the modal verb may say the same no matter what the subject is, unlike other auxiliary verbs like have. I may delete this later, right? She may delete this later. I have deleted this already. She has deleted this already. However, modal verbs can and will both change. For the past tense, can become could and will become would when discussing the future related to past. When I was a kid, I could do some somersault without getting dizzy, and I don't know when we met that she would become my wife. So you can read the main article. Okay, right? Now auxiliary verbs, so these are the main auxiliary verbs, right? Be, do, and have. Okay, and these are the modal auxiliary verb: can, could, these are two; dare, then may, might, these are two. This way you can remember dare, right? And then uh, must and shall, should, will, would, right? So these are the different verbs. When do you use auxiliary verbs? One of the most common uses of auxiliary verbs, especially be or have, is to form different grammatical tenses in writing. Each different tense shows a different aspect of time. So by using auxiliary verbs, we can communicate more accurately, right? So that's a few That's a repeating arm. One of the most common uses of auxiliary verb, especially be or have, is to form different grammatical tenses in writing, right? What are they? That's a be and have. So be is actually be, being, being, and is, am, are, was, were are called be, or have, has, or had. Okay, so these are tenses in writing. Each different tense shows a different aspect of time. So by using auxiliary verbs, we can communicate more accurately. Below the different thing tenses, auxiliary will now actually shall is deleted, fast fading, but yes, all future tenses including the simple future tense show events that have not happened yet but will happen later. Unlike the past and present tense, the future tense can all alone does not follow subject verb agreement. So you don't future tense, yes, so does not follow singular, plural, something. So that you don't have to worry too much. Okay, and simply use the model auxiliary verb will before the bare infinitive form, and that is I will be, right? Form without to, that is called bare infinitive form. This is okay. Now continue example, she will be the first astronaut president of Mars. Okay, now, continuous tense B. The continuous tense, also called the progressive tense, show an ongoing action not yet completed. The present continuous tense shows an ongoing action happening now, and past shows the ongoing action in the past, such as previous condition or even that was interrupted. The future continuous tense shows future action that will be ongoing. So the continuous tense use a conjugated form of auxiliary verb, right? Verb be along with the present participle. Okay, so that's a ing form. I am working in the shade, she was studying, all right, and then they will be sleeping when you arrive. Then perfect tense have. The perfect tenses are used for events that have already happened but still have significant consequences later. The present perfect tense refers to completed action that either greatly impact on or continues up until the present, right? The past perfect, also called uh, blue perfect, shows a past event that happened before another past event in the same sentence. So that's a past perfect is shows the past event that happens before another past event in the same sentence. So that's a two past sentence in a one sentence. The future perfect tense shows an event that will be completed. So that's a very important information for, wait a minute, information for perfect tense, right? So that's a perfect present. Perfect tense refers to completed action that either greatly impact on or continue up to the present. Means the past which touches the present tense is called present perfect. And then when there are two past events happen in a sentence, so then we use past perfect tense, right? And then future perfect tense shows an event that will be completed later. So the perfect tenses use conjugated form of the auxiliary verb having along with the past participle. They have just finished class and are getting ready for recess. Now, perfect continuous tense be and have. The perfect continuous tense combine the perfect and continuous tense and are used instance when both apply. The present perfect continuous tense shows an ongoing action started in the past that is still happening, right? So that's a present perfect continuous, and past perfect continuous used just like the past perfect tense, but for ongoing action. Future will be action that will be completed later. The perfect continuous tense use conjugated form of auxiliary, right? For example, have been reading Moby Dick for months now, है ना? And then he had been working, and then tomorrow we will have been. These are the sentence, right? I'm not reading one. Then other usage of auxiliary verbs, so that are not just used for tenses or time, also play vital role in the variety of functions for negatives. So then use do. So negative sentences use the word use conjugated form of auxiliary verb do together. So that's a does not, that's a conjugative, right? Will not, so that we did not, this is a conjugative. And verb do together with bare infinitive without to, right? So that's a conjugated, and bare means here to is not given, so that is bare infinitive. Using negative, a word never does not require an auxiliary, right? Then modality where modal verbs get their name refers to grammatical moods, means which shows the mood, okay? So that is, for example, uh, modality and modal verbs cover these situations: likelihood, possibility, ability, permission, request, suggestion, commands, obligations, habits. So different modal verbs are used to show grammatical moods. These are the use of this, right, modal verbs. Now last one is passive voice, be. So that's a standard sentences are generally written in the active voice where the subject does action. The passive voice, however, is when the doer of an action is not the subject, right? So the man leads his dog, the dog is led by a man. The passive voice is constructed with the conjugated form, that is conjugated form is led, right, of auxiliary verb will be and the main verb in the past participle. There is usually a prepositional phrase as well to explain who does the action, and that's a by the man who does the action. Keep in mind that only transitive verbs can be used in passive voice. Then last is yes no question do have modal verbs. In English, yes no questions use an auxiliary verb unless the main verb is be or tense of continuous, right? So that is if the main verb of question is not, so that's a just vice versa. Suppose in this sentence here, that's a did you, so that's a positive, so tag will be negative. That's a positive, tag will be negative. Same they are talking about. These are tag questions are when you add a small question to the end, so that is tag question, that is called tag question, right? So in English, questions use a pronoun is very important for question tag. So I tell you it later because a little bit lengthy, right? So today I have made this much only, but yes, definitely I'm going to tell you in detail. Okay, bye.